Okay. Woo, come back. Okay. So, welcome everyone to Honeybee You to Row, and we're back with Destiny, in the Coaching Destiny series. We're going to try to keep the intro short and sweet. Destiny and I have already spoken, and decided what we're going to do today. And, so we're going to catch up from her last session where we did some narrative and some reframing, some narrative work and reframing. And Destiny did decide to go ahead and look at the people in her life that she wasn't really ready to do last week, but she did it on her own. And you agreed that you would want to share today what you did. Okay.
Yeah.
So before we do that, let's catch everybody up to, where you are in your career journey, because that's really what we started off, why you wanted to understand more about your South Node and your North Node and how that applied to your career choices, your career path, but kind of catch everybody up to where you are with that.
Yeah. So that's something that I've thought a lot about. And I told you that I was thinking maybe I should go into tarot because I feel like it's a very intuitive thing, and I've enjoyed reading the cards the way that you are having me read them. And then I had also, what I didn't mention when we were talking before is I kind of made a list of things that I want to do, because I figure going this route, like I'm going to have to support myself in like a few different ways. Just because that's the life of an artist.
There you go.
My goal for this year is to, by the end of the year, have like have designed my own tarot deck and like be seeing what I need to do to get that released, like, contacting companies and whatnot to see how much it's going to cost to get the cards printed and all of that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yeah. That sounds so exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep in touch with you on that. I want an initial copy.
Yes, I'm going to give you one, and I'll give my therapist one, just like to have people see what they think about them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Okay. And so just share with everybody what is your understanding in terms of your North and South Node, and in terms of where you are in thinking like this is probably a good fit for me to do the artist and the tarot and all of that.
So I guess my understanding of my North and South Node would be, especially the North Node, is learning how to kind of enjoy the journey and not focus so much on where I'm going to end up. Because sometimes when you're going on the journey, you end up in a different place than you expected or that you're shooting for. And I think that, like, in terms of thinking about tarot and kind of combining that with being an artist, you kind of can't really predict where you're going to end up with that, because it's not a traditional thing. So I would be able to, I'm going to have to enjoy the journey and just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah. I mean, being an artist and a creative, by definition, there's really no like end. You're always in motion.
Always evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and in your North Node, you remember that using your intuition is more important than needing to get all the facts.
Yeah, and art and tarot especially is all about intuition.
Yeah,
which is kind of funny.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anyone that hasn't watched some of the other episodes, you've been told by multiple people that you're naturally intuitive.
Yep. I just don't always listen to it, which, if I'm getting more into my North Node, I will be learning to listen to it.
Yes, because your South Node would have been to overthinking,
Mhm.
or learning to do, to act more on your intuition. What, I didn't ask you this, but I am curious, what things have you done, maybe just over the last couple of weeks that have been motivated by using your intuition, or have you acted on taking those small leaps of faith like we talked about, based on your intuition?
Um, hmm. It's kind of hard because it's been 2 weeks and it's hard to think of everything.
Yeah.
But I know one big thing for me has been like I've kind of in the past year or so been very closed off to people, like new
Mhm.
friends. And in the past couple of weeks, I decided to kind of like open back up to meeting new people, not necessarily like in a dating way, but like I've interacted more on online forums, and like I had put my Discord name in my signature. So like if anybody wanted to talk to me, they could. And surprisingly, lots of people have like reached out, and my intuition has been able to tell me which ones didn't have very good motivations in reaching out to me. Because
Yeah.
when you're talking to somebody, you can get an idea of
Mm,
where they're at.
mm,
Um,
mm.
and it's been kind of cool because I've started talking to some really cool people, like one person who just asks questions, and not a lot of people ask the kind of questions that they do. And so we've had great conversation. And then another person who has like shared music with me and like opened me up to songs that I wouldn't have listened to before. So I think like my intuition and taking chances has led me to meet some new people that hopefully are going to be good friends.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. Because maybe in the past, and I'm just saying this based off of the little practice exercise we just did, maybe in the
Hmm.
past you might not have trusted your intuition with regards to people.
Hmm. Yeah,
What would you have
so
done?
I think I may not have even continued talking to these people because I didn't trust myself and my
Yeah.
intuition. And in other cases, a couple of the people where I was like, your motivations aren't very pure here, I probably would have kept talking to them, like waiting on them to show me a different side or a better side,
Mhm.
instead of what I ended up doing, which is just not responding and not talking to them anymore because I didn't have time for their energy.
Right. So now seeing the red flags, you're not going to overthink them and look past.
Hmm.
So we just did, just to share, we're going to do a little more of this exercise later on in this session. But before we just started recording, we did a practice exercise and trying to figure out how actually to do this using the cards. But I had asked you to write 10 traits or 10 things that you love about yourself. And so we discussed that. And one of them was, we'll tell them what did you come up with? Just for the first one.
Oh, that I love unconditionally.
Yeah. So that you love unconditionally. And so then we each drew a card. And you drew the Ace of Wands, and I drew the Page of Wands.
Mhm.
And we discussed, we'll tell them what we discussed. What did you see?
So my card, it had like sparkles around it, and there were some lightning shocks coming off of the wand. And what I said was that sometimes loving unconditionally can hurt. Um, yeah, because you might be treated poorly or like see some bad red flags, and because you love unconditionally, you ignore those, because you don't want to let their negative traits affect the way that you love.
Yeah, yeah. And then for the page, we had two different interpretations potentially, right? For him,
Mhm.
sometimes works Your loving unconditionally sometimes works against you.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you come up with there?
I'd seen him kind of walking alone on a journey, and I guess it would be like the reframing that we could see it as sometimes you have to pay attention to the red flags and just let a person go and keep going on your own. You can still love them unconditionally from a
Yeah,
distance.
yeah, you can. And also, and have empathy for someone, and just recognize it for what it is, but also keep your distance and your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But we also looked at out of the book here, Discovering Your Soul Mission from Linda Brady and Evan St. Leifer. And we saw on the Gemini South Node, you're like, oh, I feel called out. So deceptive, nervous, always tense, unreliable, inconsistent, moody, distracted, gossipy, and easily bored. So do you remember what we said about that? Another way to interpret maybe the page. Unconditional love sometimes works against you.
Oh, so didn't we say that like sometimes you can go seek new relationships because you're like, well, I just need to move on to the next thing, and
yeah,
and I'm
just
bored.
loving everybody and getting bored and going and finding something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is something I have done before, but I'm starting to realize is not a good thing.
Yeah, and like you said earlier to me, that you're realizing you don't need a relationship to be happy or fulfilled or get validated.
No, I think like for the first time in my life, I'm like, I'm happy without that. Like, and I'm worthy without that.
Yeah, and here you are making maybe possibly new good friendships.
Yeah.
Yeah, the getting validated.
Feels good.
Yeah, finding your people. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in, and you kind of lead this. You pulled some cards, and you
Yeah.
put up with what we did last week, which was last week we looked at concepts in your narrative. So we looked
Mm-hmm.
Loss, mistake, success, logic, intuition, and self, I think. And we left out the people. So what did you do on your own then?
So I did mom, dad, and other. And so when I started off with mom, it's kind of funny because I was like shuffling the cards and a card came out and I was like, nah, that's not it. And I put it back in, and then I like cut the deck in half after shuffling and I pulled a card and it was the same card.
That happens. Yep.
So it was this card, the Two of Cups.
Okay.
Yeah, and what this card showed me about my mom is I've always kind of seen her as somebody who needs kind of like what we were talking about, who needs a relationship to be validated. And I've kind of felt that she's put her partner before her children in a lot of ways, especially recently. She's kind of left us behind in a way, because she's just so focused on pleasing her partner that she'll drop everything else. Like if she's out in public, she might get a call from him and be like, "Oh, we got to end our outing. Like I gotta go see him." And I know she's not really doing that to hurt us, but she's trying to keep the peace, I guess, since she works so much. And when I pulled out the second card, it kind of made me laugh because it's the five of pentacles, and she has five kids. And and
Okay.
she's like in the picture, she's crying, like she's not looking at the pentacles. And because I'm kind of like reading it intuitively, I'm just seeing that she's not looking at us because she feels ashamed of the ways that she's treated us in the past. So she's kind of afraid to face us. That's what this card told me.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so what we were doing was we were picking one card for, how the story that you've told yourself about your
Yeah. So this one is like, it's
mean
not
one.
that she doesn't love us. It's not that she wants to put, her man in front of us. She just doesn't know the right way to fix things with us.
Okay.
And she's trying to figure that out.
Mm. So when you see that switch in
Mhm.
narrative, um, how does that affect you in terms of the story that you tell, overarching your own narrative?
Right.
You know,
Well, it makes me not so angry with her because, I could see that she's still trying. She just doesn't exactly know how.
she doesn't know how. Okay. Yeah. So there again, you can still have compassion, empathy, understanding, um,
And
uh, but also, right, also maintain what you need to continue to take care of yourself, maintain boundaries.
yeah.
Know anything about really about your relationship, and I know we're walking that fine line. But anytime if you want to speak to any of that, go right ahead. I know part of your, I think, part of what, I think you've said this on here, part of your why or something that is fulfilling for you is to share your story. So you can
Mhm.
as much as you want. But
Yeah. Yeah.
expectation is
We're definitely healing our relationship. And, the reading that you did where, you were connecting to my energy, you could see that a lot of my struggles are because of mom. And I'm having to do a lot of looking at our history and our relationship, and and trying to figure out how I can learn from that and kind of turn things around. But thankfully, she is very open to, I don't want to say criticism, but she's open to hearing my experience, and
really
she's not she's not combative about it. Like, she's trying to understand and learn from it, and she wants to help me heal if she can help me. And I told her that's really my job. Like, I have to heal from my trauma. Like, that's not your responsibility. But she does want to hear about it.
So what is that like for you then, that she wants to hear? She wants to
It's
listen. She'll
it's so
accept.
so conflicting because I don't know. I don't want to hurt her by telling her the ways that she's hurt me, but you kind of also do need to talk about things, and other people can't learn from the way they've behaved if you don't tell them how they've hurt you. So
Right, right. You know, let's move through the other people here, and what how you asked the uh, change your narrative.
mhm.
But then don't let me forget. I want to go back and discuss how all of these different players, and maybe this would be for another episode, I don't know, but maybe you know it off the top of your head, how all of these different players now, um, you might see how they have helped you actually move into your North Node and the things you're supposed to be growing into. Does that make sense? How I just
That
said?
makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
don't know the answer off the top of my head, but it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense what you
Yeah.
said.
So that might be something that you journal and we talk about next week if you want to. But let's just see how the others go, and maybe you'll come up with something. Okay. So what was the next one?
So the next one was dad. And I have two dads. I have my biological father who passed away 11 or 12 years ago. And then I had my stepdad who kind of raised me because my parents got divorced. And then my mom married my stepdad. And
Okay.
they're no longer together, but he is still the person who was my dad. So I think he's who came up in this reading. And I got the Two of Swords.
Hmm.
Let me not drop it. There.
Mhm.
And I'd seen someone who is kind of guarded and has to be responsible for a lot because he's holding the world. Um, he doesn't look very warm. He looks very cold and and guarded. And I guess that is kind of how I see him because he's a military guy. So he's he's very strict and he didn't really show a lot of emotions. Um, so I kind of saw him as someone who is cold,
As someone who's,
um,
yeah, and
just not very available.
yeah, and
Hmm.
so you saw him as somebody who's cold and not available. So what was the story that you told yourself about this cold, unavailable person in your life?
I mean, I guess I kind of told myself that I didn't really see him as a father, even though he was my father, because we didn't have a close bond. Like he was just kind of there. Like this person is there, but they don't really care about me. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
Kind of complicated.
Yeah, I'm sure it is very complicated. Uh, and it is important that, and again, we can maybe focus on this next week, but to take
Mhm.
all of this and uh, see if it gives you any insight into how these people, and I believe this to be true along the line,
Mhm.
we just have to get to a place where we're ready to um, change the narrative. You know,
Yeah.
that's just a choice. But I do believe that the people that come into our lives and all of the struggles that we go through, they really are helping us to move into our highest, strongest, best self, and can hurt like hell, you know,
Yeah.
so traumatic and unfair. Um,
I think so too, though. Like I've started to rethink things instead of like, why is this happening to me? I'm like, what is this doing for me? Like,
hmm.
yeah.
So what did you come up then with the second card for?
So the second card is also another one where where I was like, yeah, that's not it. Then I pulled it again.
Did
I
you
did that
really?
I did that a few all three sets I did that.
Huh.
And all three times similar messages came out. But
Yeah. What do
I
you
got
make
the
of
high
that?
priestess.
Oh, you got
I
the
think that's a
priestess.
yeah. And I love this card. It's so pretty, but like she's holding a scroll and it
Uh-huh.
looks like she's just reading so much. And I see that as someone who is learning. And in terms of like the story and how I tell what I tell myself, I would say that my dad isn't somebody who didn't care about me because he was cold. I think he is somebody who's learning how to show his compassion and that he cares for me. Um, because like when you're in the military, you don't you don't really show your emotions because you're not supposed to. Like that could probably hurt you in your line of duty. And I also know personally that he was not raised to show emotions and to care. So so it's not that he didn't, similar to my mom, it's not that he doesn't care. It's just that he's learning.
It's just that he's learning. Okay.
Hmm.
Oh, very good. Um, yes. Okay. I'm gonna leave that because I want you to further explore this later.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that the you got two twos there. Did you notice that?
Hmm.
You got right. She's card number two in the major arcana,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and he's and then the Two of Swords, right? You had the Two of Swords.
And then my mom was a 2 also.
Oh, and mom was a 2?
She was the 2 of Cups.
Okay, interesting. So, with the Two of Swords, you traditionally see a person with the swords crossed like this, right? They're kind of blocking the heart chakra in a way, or protecting it, even, just depending on how you want to look at it. And they have a blindfold over their eye. And again, depending on the position, depending on the question, depending on an interpretation, sometimes I see that card as someone who doesn't want to see and wants to be blinded because they don't want to make a choice. They don't want to have to make a choice. They don't want to have to know what they know. So it can be a card of denial, but many times I see it as someone who needs to shut out the world in order to connect with their own inner knowing and intuition. The High Priestess traditionally holds the secrets, right? There's all of these things that cannot be known except by our intuition. So as you were showing me those cards, I was thinking, I wonder if the relationship that you had with your dad, this particular dad, required you to maybe face some hard lessons about using your intuition. Do you know what I mean? Or trust yourself, or not being able to trust yourself. I don't know, and you don't have to answer. But that's
right.
For me.
That's something I'm gonna have to think about. That we were kind of talking about seeing how those people helped me anyway,
Yes.
and I think that'll be important to look at, because I'm gonna have to think about that one a little deeper.
Yeah. But that's where I want you to go, is to kind of, now as you see how you flip it, and use your own interpretations. Okay, I just wanted to give you a bit of, I don't know,
insight
of what I was thinking when I saw it. But that's, definitely what I would want you to do, is then see how these people, the way you think about them, how are they pushing you, helping you to, unbeknownst, they don't know, but this is how you make meaning of it. Okay. All right. And so what was the next one?
So the next one was Other. And I decided for Other that it would be just how I see other people in general. Like like when you go on Instagram and you see all these people doing their thing.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny because this card came out. It's the 7 of Cups. And in the card, you see these cups with all these different things in them. Like there's a dragon, there's a person's head, a castle, like some money, a snake. And it shows me that I see other people as people who have more than me, that like started off on a better foot than I did, because like I've had so many struggles in life, and we were very poor. I didn't grow up with a lot. So that's how I saw other people, is people who have more opportunity than I do.
How would you feel when you would have those thoughts that other people have?
I would feel like I am not, I just felt like I wasn't ever going to make anything out of my life. Like, how am I supposed to be successful when I'm starting with so little and they have everything already?
Okay, yeah. So you kind of maybe felt some sense of defeat already.
The defeat before I even started.
The defeat before you could even start. Okay. I want to double check. We're going to look at our little book again here. So, So I'll read you those Gemini South Node keywords and see if this applies or not. Deceptive, nervous, always tense, unreliable, inconsistent, moody, distracted, gossipy, easily bored, unfocused, manipulative, scattered, lost in the present, and high strung. Did that mindset or those thoughts and that feeling of defeat, did any of that relate to any of these words for you, or these kinds?
Yeah, so I guess moody, high strung, even gossipy in a sense, because it's, thinking about, oh, these other people are doing this.
Okay.
So yeah, and nervous for
And
sure.
nervous. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And then let's see. What would you pull for your next card for another way to think of it?
So this is, like I told you, I did this for all three where I kind of pulled cards and they came back out. This one, the same card didn't exactly come back out, but I pulled an ace, and I think it was like an ace of cups. And I was like, yeah, because I got the same message off of all of the cards, but I put them back out, and then another ace came out, and then another ace came out. And I was like, well, I guess that's the message I'm gonna get.
That's about it.
But,
Gotta face it.
I got the ace of swords.
Ooh, okay.
And basically what I took from that is like, maybe they have more things than I do, and they started out with more resources, but we all only have one life. Like, we're only one person, we can only do what we can do. And that's kind of how I reframed it. Like,
Okay.
we're all dealing with the world with our own abilities and experiences, regardless of the resources that we have.
So how are you going to use that reframe moving forward, or how does that impact your journey or your narrative?
I guess it kind of is making me look less at what other people are doing, because I don't have the resources they have, and thinking about what other people have isn't going to help me. I need to focus on what I have and what I'm going to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'm just going to sit there and overthink myself into oblivion and be jealous.
Yeah, right, and just stuck and defeated. Right, I can't move. I think I've already lost.
Yeah.
So let me read to you Sagittarius North Node here. Those little keywords again: honest, philosophical, globetrotter, loves freedom, values nature, loves animals, futuristic, goal-directed, optimistic, straightforward, seeks truth. Oh, where'd you go? Are you there still?
I'm still here.
Okay.
A low battery thing popped up, so I guess it cut the camera.
Can you get yourself plugged back in? Are you okay?
Yeah, I can. I got a charger right here.
Okay. I'm sorry, straightforward, seeks truth, loves physicality, ethical, and teacher.
Those are all very true things. Every single one of them. Loves nature, freedom, globetrotter. I want to travel the world someday.
Yeah. So the Ace of Swords, how might that apply to this as you interpreted it? Or these words?
Well, because how I interpreted it would be that I need to focus on my resources and my qualities, and see what I can make of that and how that can help me live my life. And all of those qualities are kind of things that I can focus on, especially the goal-oriented thing. Like, instead of seeing what other people are doing, I need to be making goals myself and going after them with what I've got. So yeah.
Again, I want you to trust your own interpretations, because that's our goal is to help you to trust your own intuition. And we talked about actually learning about the meanings of the cards, the traditional meanings, but I definitely love your interpretations. But one of the things that it kind of made me smile internally when you pull that is that the Ace of Swords really is this brand new insight or a brand new idea or a brand new truth, a brand new way of thinking about something, mentally or verbally, like coming almost, like a gift, of a new way to think about things. So that makes perfect sense. Yeah, seeking the truth, and you're on your little journey. So, oh, that's really great. So yeah, that's what I'm going to have. Oh, that's what I'm going to have.
I'm just plugging my phone in.
Okay, that's what I'm going to have. Sorry, I lose my voice. That's what I'll have you do is there's going to be 2 things for you to do for our next session. And the first thing will be now go back and see how all of these things that were part of your drama, and I'm sure there are more, and I want you to continue to do this as things
right
in your head, how all of these things have been helping you, pushing you, even if they hurt, even if they still suck. But
it's kind of funny that you're having me do that, because before we even met, I wanted to do like kind of like a memoir, in a way that revisits all of like the key moments in my life and what I felt at the time and kind of what I've learned from them, which is exactly what you're having me do.
I love it.
And I was talking to a friend because I told her how I was feeling that day, and she was like, Des, you just need to write a book already, because your words, like, you're so good with words. And I'm like, yeah, nobody would probably read it, but I do want to do that. Like, I want to write that memoir, and it like directly relates to what we're talking about.
Absolutely. And it's so in line with your entire noble access, really. Right. So once you kind of embrace your north node, now you can go back and grab onto the south node strengths, right? So being very good with words and a good writer and a good speaker, that's all Gemini. Being very creative in your thought,
Right.
all Gemini, but you want to put it into the north node,
the journey forward. Yeah.
Yes. So wow, very powerful. Love it. Okay. So we had you write down 10 of the things that you love about yourself. Okay. We're going to take 5 of them and do a little exercise today, but why don't you go ahead and tell me, you told me 1, which was that you have an ability to love unconditionally.
You want me to read you the 5 I chose, or all of them?
All of them.
Okay. So I said intuitive, empathetic, kind soul, resilient, intelligent, creative, a good friend, loves unconditionally, express myself boldly with confidence, and courageous.
Those are amazing qualities. What was that like for you to write all those down and see that?
Well, at first I was like, that makes me sound a lot better than I am. I was like, that's not true. But then I was like, okay, well, these actually are true things, and it made me feel good about myself.
Okay, so they are true. I'm sure they're 100% true. At the same time, tarot is teaching us to, and hopefully your life is teaching you, and hopefully therapy is teaching you, and hopefully you're learning some of this with me as well, that we're whole people. We're not, I don't even know what this perfect, how would we even define it? But we spend so much time trying to achieve this thing and negate or suppress, other shadowy, darker pieces of us, and I don't want to get into a big long lecture about it, but like we talked about earlier, before we started recording, these lovely qualities and traits can sometimes work against you.
Mm-hmm.
And so next week, we're going to look at, I'm going to have you write down 10 qualities or traits that you don't so much like yourself, right? Or things that you believe are negative. And then we're going to look at, well, how do those things sometimes work for you?
Right.
Okay. So because we're whole, right? It's not a black and white thing. We're whole, and we integrate these things. So, and use them just like your South Node. We use, once we figure out what's going on over here in our North Node, we can come back and integrate all of it. So which 5 did you want to discuss today with the tarot?
I chose empathetic, resilient, intelligent, creative, and expresses myself boldly.
And expresses yourself boldly, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So you're going to pull one card for how each one of these sometimes works against you. And I'm going to pull one card, but you're going to do the interpreting. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Which one are we going to do first?
Let's do empathetic first.
Empathetic. Ooh, okay. So how does empathy or being empathetic sometimes work against?
Can't watch scary movies, that's for sure.
What's that?
I said I can't watch scary movies, that's for sure.
Oh, really?
Like I'm so empathetic that if I see like gore and things happen on screen, I can feel it. Like I can I can feel people's pain.
Yeah. Okay. So more along the empathic side then.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Woo. This is interesting. Oh, okay. Let's see what you got.
I got 7 of Pentacles, which looks like this in this deck.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you get with that? How it sometimes works against you.
I guess, because he's got so many pentacles around him, I guess that it would come across to me as somebody who has like a lot on their plate, a lot on their shoulders, just like a lot to think about. And, in terms of empathy, when you have so many other people's emotions around you, you kind of lose yourself in that and don't know what to think because you're thinking about other people and it's one thing that you learn in therapy, like what's mine and what's somebody else's.
Absolutely. Wow. What an interesting interpretation for that. Yeah. And when you don't know what to think, then what?
You just get kind of stuck. You lose yourself.
Yeah, you lose yourself. Okay, I love it. Well, I'll show you what came out. Now, I didn't pull a card. I like jumpers. So, unfortunately, we got 3. Makes it a little bit tougher, but let's just see what you come up with, okay? Because this is what you're learning to do. Use your intuition. So I don't know how you're seeing this, but this is the first card. Okay, so we've got the Page of Cups. And then we've got the 3 of Pentacles. And we've got your friend, the Two of Swords here?
I remember that we had that card come out before, and I had said that it looks like he's about to trip and doesn't realize it. He's not looking down. And after you told me with that Two of Swords that they normally like have the blindfold and they don't want to see. Sometimes when you're very empathetic, you get overloaded with feelings and you just shut down. And you just don't want to feel anymore because it's hard.
Don't want to feel anymore because it's hard. And is that your experience?
Yeah, it can be like, especially when, the people in my life have a lot going on and like I'm trying to fix their problems for them because I can feel their problems so much. It kind of makes me not want to deal with people anymore. It's like, man, people make me feel and get overwhelmed. Maybe I should just like withdraw completely. And I do have periods where like I isolate for multiple reasons, but it does sometimes have to do with feeling so overwhelmed by other people's problems and their feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you talked, I think it was last time or the time before, that you really had to take on a lot of responsibility for your siblings and for your families, and that you've been in relationships where that's been, replicated and so, but I can't remember if you said this while we were recording or if it was just to me, but you're learning to set those boundaries. Yeah, which is huge for an right? Yeah,
it's very big.
Yes.
And I think in the last reading, you had a card come up and you had asked if there was a Taurus in my life, and that was when I talked about like kind of like taking responsibility for other people's issues. And since like just in the past 2 weeks, I've realized like that's the thing that I'm gonna have to let go because it isn't my problem to deal with. And like I love him and I love his daughter, but she's not my daughter. And if I like hold on to that and keep trying to reconnect with him because I care about her, it's just going to end up hurting me in the end. And that's something I got to let go as much as it sucks.
Yeah, as much as it sucks. And which goes back to that unconditional love also, right? Got a little theme going on here. Okay. So what is your next trait that we're going to look at?
My next trait is resilient.
Resilient. Okay. How does that sometimes work against you? Resiliency. How does it sometimes work against Destiny?
And I do like to take jumpers, but sometimes I'll be shuffling and nothing will come out. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you not giving me answers?
I do want to ask you, what do you make of the fact that when you get a card and you say no to it and you put it back and it comes back out again? What do you make of that? And that happened to you 3 times? Or
yeah, 3 times. It's that I just need to take the first card and listen to my intuition. Like that's the whole point of what we're doing. It's like I got the answer and I knew what it was going to be, and I was like, no, there's got to be something else.
Yeah, Gemini shows up and it's like, oh, I think that's not it. Yeah, it's you just go with what you get. I do that too, though. Sometimes I'm like, or I'll just get too much of a mess of cards, and I've just learned over time that it could be that there's just a lot going on. A big flap of cards, or it's a little bit more complicated. But when I put them back in the deck, they show up again. What is so okay, so how does resiliency sometimes work against you?
Okay. So we got the Nine of Swords. Actually, we know what that card is. uh, and it's got all these swords hanging over them. And in this picture, there's this big, terrifying demon behind all the swords.
Ooh, what an
Um,
image.
yeah. And this guy has got his eyes covered, like he doesn't want to see anything. And, when it comes to resiliency, like I do kind of bounce back fast from things that happen to me, and because I try to look at it as a lesson. But at the same time, it's hard to go through so many things, and sometimes you get really sad about everything that you've been through, and kind of with the empathy thing, like you kind of shut down because you're like, I don't. It's great that I'm resilient, but I don't want to have to keep going through things anymore. Like I want things to be easy. I don't want to have to bounce back.
Yeah. Can maybe get stuck in like a loop, right?
Yeah.
If I bounce back and I go back and I get another one and I get another one.
Mm-hmm. It's like, what else is going to come up? It kind of makes you not trust that things are going to get better. And I experienced this in the past 2 weeks. I posted on Facebook. I was like, I'm having too good of a day. Very suspicious. I was like, kind of sus though. Like something else is going to happen that's not going to be good. Like if I'm having this good of a day.
What was the outcome of that?
I mean, the day was fine, but when you're resilient and you're so used to things popping up, you just kind of are looking around the corner for something else to happen,
Yeah.
even if nothing is there.
Yes. The hypervigilant
Mhm.
can't really quite trust in those times where things are good, waiting
Mhm.
to drop. Well, let's look at what came out over here. 4 cards, okay? Interesting. I got the 10 of Swords.
Oh wow, so similar, but
Very similar, right? But this particular situation, I mean,
he's down, man down.
yeah. I mean, he's not getting back up. But interestingly, the sun is rising. Okay. So once he lets everything die, just let it go. Let it go. Stay down. Don't get back up. The sun rises, right? Something new. Okay, so that is followed by the King of Swords. That is followed by the Judgment card. I'm just curious to see how you're going to read these. And it's hard for me to hold them all up, but
Yeah.
bear with me here. I'm going to figure it out. Okay.
What is the last card?
The last card, I'm sorry, is the World card. It's the last final card in the major arcana, where we've completed a major life cycle or lesson.
Okay.
When we complete it, we're at the end. We're also at the very beginning. Something new. Okay. So that's what.
So I guess I would kind of see these cards as like a story. Like in the first card, we've got him, he's down, like he's not getting back up. The sun is rising. And then in the second card, I would see someone who is like, they're becoming powerful, like taking back their agency. And then in the third card with judgment, that would be kind of like looking at the story like we're doing. And then the fourth card is the world, which is like, learning from that experience and starting fresh.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we're what we pulled was asking, how does resiliency sometimes work against you? But
Yeah.
the way you interpreted it and the way I'm looking at it and seeing it, as well as is, okay, well, if you let it die, like you come back, you rebirth
Yeah.
something.
But I guess looking at it in terms of how can it work against you is that sometimes you don't ever make it past that first card, and that can be difficult. Like, I mean, I've been in situations where I do feel like I just want to give up and I don't want to get back up again. And
Mhm.
that's how it could work against you. Like, if we had just gotten that first card, that would be a work against you. But there's the three cards after that, that are there if you choose to get up. But sometimes you don't.
Yeah, really interesting, really intriguing. I'm going to move on for time's sake, but I want to come back to this. I'm going to try to remember these four cards and sort of, sit with them and
Mhm.
think a little bit more on that. It's very, very interesting. Okay. What's your next one here?
The next one is intelligent.
Do you ever, let me ask you this.
Mhm.
This is it's going to bother me. I won't be able to move.
It's okay.
Let me just ask you this. Do you ever feel that if you did allow something to just be done and to just let it go, let it die, don't get back up, do you ever feel that you're being do you ever feel afraid that you would be judged for letting something just go, quit getting back up?
Judged for getting back up,
No, judged for not getting back up.
or not getting back up. Yeah, definitely. Um, because especially with like healing from trauma, I've had people say like, why is this still an issue? Like, why are you not over this yet?
Oh,
And which isn't very helpful at all. But
no.
um, but sometimes you need more time to process, and a lot of the times I feel like I have to force myself to move faster than I'm ready to, because other people have something to say about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was really, really bothering me. And I've just,
Mhm,
this particular deck I think is gorgeous, but some
mhm.
faces on the court cards, and some of the faces on the characters, I just, ugh, give me the creeps.
Right.
I love this card, King of Wands, but
Mhm.
face is creeping me out. Like he's looking down, you know, on some at someone, like he's, Mr.
Oh yeah.
Now. And then the judgment card, depending on the question and the placement, is a positive card, but also it literally can be like being judged, being judged for something. And then the world card, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I love the world card. Why is it in this position? And I'm thinking, well, does she think that, um, you know, that she has to keep, who told her she has to keep taking it? She has to keep getting back up. She has to. Like, is there something about messages she's received or judgments that have been made on her if she doesn't, you know?
I guess I do feel that way. Like, what's coming up for me is there's a moment that I had with one of my boyfriends. It's been like 5 or 6 years ago, but I was having a really overwhelming day and I came home crying, and I was like, I just feel like I can't ever relax. Like, I it always has to be me that takes care of everything. Like I'm not allowed to just sit down and be. I have to keep getting back up. And I think that is like a message that I got probably from my mom is that you got to get back up like when you fall. So I don't feel all the time like I can take my time getting back up. Like I got to do it right now. Like I can't just sit here.
Yeah. And that's, absolutely going to exhaust you and cause you to feel, defeated and all of the things. Like if you can't,
Mhm.
you have to just get up and pretend like it didn't happen. And how can
But it did happen. All of this stuff does.
yeah, all of this stuff did. So moving forward, you'll have to be aware, and maybe this will come up in the shadow exercise or more the negative things. How sometimes the things that you believe about yourself, right? Like as an example, I'll just say, um, from the Gemini South Node, maybe like the quitter, let's just say, right? The quitter. I believe myself to be a quitter. Well, let's take a look at that. How could being a quitter sometimes work for you?
That's very true. Sometimes it can work for you, knowing when
Absolutely.
to let go of things that don't work for you. And what that brings up for me is I can't remember if I had just quit a very toxic job when we started or if it was right before we started. I think it was right before we started. So
Yeah.
I was in two times. So before, when I lived in Washington, I was a caregiver. I was working 70, 80 hours a week. And on top of everything going on with me mentally, recovering from trauma. And I left that and I came here and I decided to put more work into myself and cut back on work extremely.
Mm.
But my mom talked me into finding a job, like an office job. And so I found an office job. And eventually I decided I was going to quit that job. I'm done with it. And I thought to myself, I can't be a quitter. Like I should just push through this because that's what everyone else wants me to do. But I realized that that's not what would serve me. So I quit on the spot. There were other issues going on, but I just left that day at noon. I was like, I'm done. It ended up being a very good decision for me.
Yeah. Okay. So now those four cards are making more sense, right? Like that whole what everybody else thinks and like
Mhm.
that's what I want you to consider is there are messages that I received growing up in my life along my journey, or whether I told myself these messages. And maybe I do have some traits that sometimes are shadowy. Okay. They're not always great and they're not always
Mhm.
positive. But my traits or qualities that I believe are good can also have a shadowy element. And how do we take both of those things and help balance all of these different pieces of who I am out? Right.
Right. Yeah.
Be,
Like a yin yang. They all
yes,
work together.
that's exactly right. Thank you for putting good words in my mouth. Okay. What's your next one?
um, oh wait, no. Intelligent. Intelligent.
Okay. Yes, you are. All right. How does intelligence sometimes work against destiny? Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know what I make of this card.
Would you call?
It's the Seven of Swords, and this is what it looks like in this deck.
Let me see. Can you put it a little bit closer to the?
Yeah.
That's the Seven of Swords or the Six of Swords? 1, 2, 3.
7. No, 6. 6. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, okay. All right. So, one of the ways to connect with the card is just to tell me, if you were at a museum, what would you think the artist was trying to convey? What's the feeling? What's going on with this person?
Mm. Oh, she's on a boat, and she's got her oar. Um, looks like she's got a ways to go. There's like you can see the distance, and she has all of these swords standing around her. I guess what I'm getting is, like, in a way that intelligence can work against you, would be that because you have all of this knowledge, sometimes you think you have enough knowledge to just go at your journey alone. You're like, I know how to do all of this stuff.
Ooh, okay, interesting interpretation. How do you relate to that?
I mean, definitely rings true for me. Like, I've always thought, I guess my philosophy is that, like, I'm the only person I really am ever going to have. Like, I have to figure things out on my own, when I have no one else. And for most of my life, I haven't had anyone else. So I've always thought that it's up to me to take care of everything. And sometimes that means not asking for help, because I feel like either I should be able to take care of it, or I know that I can take care of it, even if it is very difficult. Because I am smart. Like, I've got resources to do what I need. And sometimes I just make it harder on myself by doing it alone.
By doing it all on your own. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, let me show you what came out for me here, or on my side. Got the 9 of Wands.
Well, that's kind of a similar vibe. Like, they're both kind of trapped in these swords around them, or or wands around them.
This is like wounded warrior kind of dude or person. So, what do you think is going on here? How intelligence can sometimes work against you?
I don't know. It's kind of hard for me on this one to think about, like, answering that question.
Uh-huh. Well, let me tell you a little bit about the 9 of Wands. This person has been through a lot. They've got a bandage around their head. They're leaning on, this wand. This can be, a long-term ongoing experience, a battle. He's still standing, very strong. And yet you get the sense that this is coming to me, world weary. Some people read this as someone who's like paranoid.
Mhm.
I see him as someone who's, like you said before, maybe has had too many experiences where, he can be hyper vigilant,
Mhm.
right? In some ways, like I've been through too much. I don't know if I can go any further.
Right.
I don't know if I who I can trust or what's coming towards me, I guess, in this position. So I don't know. How do you relate to that? Maybe.
I guess, being untrusting can come from intelligence because, I remember all of my experiences. I've learned certain lessons from things that have happened. And I kind of know how things are going to play out intuitively in a way. So it can make you weary because you're like, I know all of these things and the way the world works is not pretty,
Mhm. Based on my
unfortunately.
past, right?
Yeah, based on
Based
my
on my
past, things aren't pretty,
Mhm.
and you can kind of close yourself off a little bit because you want to control your environment more because
Yeah.
you know about all these things.
Mhm. So putting the two cards together, then they make more sense, I think,
hmm Yeah, I think so.
of how your intelligence sometimes works against you.
Sad.
Well, yes, and it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So then we're looking at, again, an imbalance of the use of your intelligence. And so maybe somewhere when you start writing down your like negative traits or the shadow traits, you might find that one of those traits is going to be helpful in helping you to balance out when your intelligence gets imbalanced and you're shutting yourself away from everyone, or you're
hmm
away and doing things on your own because you're afraid of getting hurt.
hmm
But again, you're going to want to draw from your intuition rather than your fears, right?
That's true.
Okay. Let me just check this out here. For Gemini South Node, again, the words deceptive, nervous, always tense, unreliable, inconsistent, moody, distracted, gossipy, easily bored, unfocused, manipulative, scattered, lost in the present, and high strung. Do these cards at all relate to the?
Yeah, but what came up was something totally unrelated to doing things alone. So the word unfocused struck out to me because a lot of the times, because I'm so interested in a lot of different things, it's hard for me to pick just one thing to do because I have so many interests and people have told me they're like, wow, you're so talented at so many things.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I love to learn, like I love to try new things, but like when it comes to figuring out what I'm going to do with my time, I can't focus on just one because I'm thinking about everything that I know and everything that's interesting. um, so yeah, I think in another sense, sometimes when you're intelligent, it makes it hard to focus.
Yeah, I agree. So when I was seeing that boat, I was thinking, I don't know, maybe could this be that part of the Gemini that might just like sail away, like too much. I'm just gonna get out of
Just gonna sail through.
I'm sailing out. I'm not even gonna deal with it. I'm just gonna move.
Coasting, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So really interesting messages coming
Hmm.
there. So, Destiny, what did you think of this particular exercise?
This is a really interesting exercise. Like, I think I think a lot of people don't like to pay attention to the shadow side of things
Mhm.
because it can be difficult. But it's also helpful because, there's the other side to things and it helps you understand both of those sides. And I'm looking forward to doing it the negative qualities to see how they can help me.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see what you come up with. And, like we saw that judgment card, it can be such a beautiful card, like a resurrection, a new opportunity, something born again. And however, you got the judgment card here when we don't want to look at things that we think are negative about us, or even we have thoughts that there are certain things that are negative about us, like we're judging ourselves, then
we feel ashamed for what our negative qualities are.
Exactly. And when we feel ashamed, right, we're gonna go and do and seek things that we don't need, are not in our highest good. So we have to embrace like all of the stuff, I love me, all my warts and all, kiss, kiss, I'm a fly being on my little journey. And I decide how this story ends. I decide what to give importance to, priority to, meaning.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So I will let you go. I'll stop the recording and keep you for 2 seconds.
Okay.
Thanks again for being a part of my journey, Destiny. I really appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Hang on.